I have a hyperfixation. I could talk about them in excruciating detail for hours. However, I don't really have the time, and you probably don't want to hear that. So, I'll give you some brief but epic facts about fonts. Ever since there was writing, people tried to standardize style. Take, for instance, hieroglyphics, which were usually made in a very cohesive style for legibility. These, however, were largely up to interpretation and would likely be more classified as art that happens to have loose linguistic meanings. Hardly a font. Closer to emoji than anything, honestly. The closest thing to fonts before fonts, though, were scripts, which were all the rage among monks and scribes. Scribes and monks were taught to write in a formal, standardized style to bring an artistic sheen on letters and holy text and stuff. An early example would be the uncial script, used by Greek and Latin scribes between the 4th and 8th century AD. It spread to nearly every Latinized writing system and remained the status quo until the Carolingian minuscule took its place. However, scripts are still not fonts. It wasn't until the printing press was made in 1440 that fonts were finally made. It started with, black letter typeface, which was one of the first. A typeface is a collection of fonts with a similar style, a lot like a modern font family. It went crazy after that, though. More and more typefaces, more and more font families spread to more and more machines until the modern day where everyone has fonts in the palm of their hand. With that said, though, fonts are quite important and super undervalued, even though their contributions to writing are massive. To begin, it improves readability through standardized writing. It gets rid of the chaos of trying to read other people's handwritings and look all different and could genuinely be unreadable. No one wants their work to be perceived as bad just because they have illegible handwriting. Things like serifs, which help with differentiating letters, cannot really be done easily without fonts. These things can also impact how readers interpret messages. Piggybacking off of that, it can severely influence the tone and pace of writing. You might not think too much about it, but you've probably experienced this before. Take, for example, the word John, written in different fonts. Hey, John! John. 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 Notice how different the tone is for each version of John and how the tone varies drastically. With one small change, you can make something's meaning completely different. Another example. Jake, could you pass the salt? Jake, could you pass the salt? In the top example I gave, the salt is obviously salt. But when I use the different font in the bottom example, you don't know what the heck I mean by salt. Even with the same font, emboldening and italics can vastly change the way a reader comprehends a sentence. I did not kill a child. I did not kill a child. I did not kill a child. In this example, the italics and emboldening of the word kill impact the entire meaning of the sentence without changing any words or even the font family. It is incredibly useful for implying things that can only usually be communicated through speech. Another often overlooked function of fonts is for practicality. Often fonts are made specifically to better function at a certain job. Take stop signs, for example. The word stop is written in bold white letters on a red background. I can't imagine someone with normal eyesight somehow missing that. Imagine how much worse it would be if the stop sign were in cursive. In much the same way, a good font family can easily catch the attention of the public, which makes them very important to marketing. Many businesses and brands will employ specific font families to put on all their branding, which helps create a connection between what is offered and the brand that offers it. Fonts can also give customers a sense of atmosphere and mood of the business, or even hint at its deeper meaning. TED uses Helvetica, a futuristic font with many straight lines to indicate their forward thinking. The UN uses Roboto, a rounded and somewhat harmless-looking font that is made for legibility to indicate the commitment to good. The Sopranos uses Mobsters, an aggressive-looking bold font that literally replaces the letter R with a gun. This indicates that this is a violent show. Replace these fonts and the marketing falls flat on its face. A good font is sometimes the difference between success and failure. Finally, it just helps with writing in general. In the modern age, it's so much easier and quicker to type than to write. It only takes a couple keystrokes to write a sentence, as opposed to handwriting that takes multiple complex hand motions to write one sentence. Not to mention how easily handwriting can cause muscle fatigue. With that said, I hope to have convinced you to consider fonts more seriously and understand its importance. I have just been informed that I will be taken to a mental facility in Nashville. Goodbye!